Okay, so we're good to go. So can I thank you all for attending our Activating Alfresco webinar. My name is Tim Fraser. I'm the Executive Director of Local Government at the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries. I would like to first say that before we start, I just wanted to advise everyone that the webinar is actually being recorded and will be placed on the department's website. So just to make you aware of that. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which this webinar is taking place, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Look, we've got a lot to get through today. So what I'd like to sort of get straight into it and start the session. And it's my great pleasure to first off introduce the Minister for Local Government, the Honourable John Carey MLA, and invite him to open the webinar. Thank you, Minister.
Thanks, Tim. It's great to be here. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. It's great that everyone could join us in relation to this new rebate scheme. Just as a broader context, you would be aware that since December, the government has invested more than 400 million into business support. And we recently announced, as part of that business support, the $5,000 grant scheme for Alfresco. We're just asking local governments to seize this opportunity to promote this new grant scheme to small businesses, because what we know is this, and I think I'm preaching to the converted here, but activating street fronts is fantastic for main streets, town centres. It's just a brilliant way of activating streets, adding more life, vibrancy, foot traffic, and making at night a community safer because there are more people on the street. What we are asking you to do is go out of your way to let small businesses know in your community, whether it's via emails, social media, adverts in your local paper, or any which way you see fit, through town teams, to get out the message that these grants are available. I would also suggest that in doing so, you could create a fact sheet of other support for small business, including some of the other grants as part of the COVID response, including hardship grants for small business. The other message I do have in relation to this is see this grant scheme as an opportunity to also look at your current regulatory frameworks for Alfresco. It is the view of the state government that local governments should be at every opportunity seeking to cut red tape for small business, and particularly for cafes, restaurants, small bars, in terms of Alfrescos. And I do want to acknowledge those local governments that have already abolished Alfresco fees, but also cut approvals, like the City of Vincent, which just has a quick online approval system. So I strongly encourage you that if you're not there yet, is to use the current situation that we face for small business to cut red tape. And just to flag, if you're not aware, the state government, as part of its local government reforms, is currently developing a model where, under certain conditions, small business or cafes and restaurants would not require local government approval for Alfresco. So the message to you is the state government is already working on the model. I would strongly encourage, if you are not doing it already, to look at reform, engage your elected councillors about cutting red tape in this regard. But look, $5,000, it can be used for parklets, furniture, heating. It's a range of purposes. So it is really an exciting opportunity for your small business. And again, just encourage you to get out there, promote it as another way of creating community place and vibrancy in your town centres or main streets. Tim, I will leave it there.
Thank you. Thanks, Minister. That's great. And just wanted to also say thank you as well today, because apparently we've got about over 115 attendees today for the webinar. We've got 52 local governments being represented as well get LG Pro. We've got people from the Small Business Development Corporation, also our colleagues at Racing Gaming as well, who are also involved in the program. So there's a wide range of stakeholders here today, and I thank you again for attending. As you be aware, and as the Minister's highlighted, the Activating Alfresco Rebate Program is a COVID support measure, and obviously we're keen to get funding out as quickly as possible. It does allow for businesses to access up to $5,000 in reimbursements for expenses related to alfresco dining, establishment expansion or improvement. And you can apply for this, of course, through the DLGSC website. Already, we've received over 100 applications, and I understand that there are further 200 being pre-prepared at the moment. We've actually processed over 100, if I could just clarify that. We're obviously, the team here is working very hard to turn around the applications as quickly as possible, and we're managing to assess most of them within 2 to 3 days and get that initial pre-approval or request for further information back as quickly as possible. But having said that, and this is one of the reasons for the webinar today, there's measures that we think local government can also assist with, which can further streamline that. And particularly helping small business who obviously are coming to you for their approvals with what they need to do to actually qualify for the program. And with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Danielle Nitzer, who's going to go through the program in a bit more detail and run you through some of the key elements. So over to you, Danielle.
Great, thank you for that, Tim. Over the last few days, I've been really fortunate to talk to quite a few of you about the program, and the level of enthusiasm has been really amazing. So for those of you that aren't quite familiar with it, it is a two-stage process. First, businesses apply for pre-approval by demonstrating that they meet the eligibility criteria. And once that pre-approval has been given, they'll be able to lodge an reimbursement claim for those eligible expenses. As the Minister mentioned, local governments can really take a leadership role in helping promote this program to local businesses. And particularly, I guess, from our perspective, is helping out with the application process for applicants. In processing these applications, what we've come to realize is one of the main reasons for delay is really getting the right proof for approval to operate alfresco dining areas from local businesses that have been applying. So to mitigate this, we're really keen to work with local governments to make this as easy as possible for local businesses, just so that we can make sure we get the funding to them as soon as possible. Already in my discussions with a few local governments, we've had some really great ideas from the sector. So I'll give a few of those examples. Recently, I spoke to Lauren from the town of Cambridge, and I think the team there has done a lot internally and behind the scenes to make sure that they're ready to support their local businesses, promote this program and with the application process. I understand that they've set up a single point of contact for applicants through their business liaison team so that they can commence action as soon as queries come in. I think that team will also coordinate responses from their planning and health teams so that the town can provide what is sort of a consolidated letter of approval that applicants can then provide to us to demonstrate that they meet that criteria. In addition, they're going to be promoting this through an e-newsletter shortly, so that's really good to hear that they're really taking this on board and moving forward. Another local government I spoke to recently is the Shire of Margaret River. I spoke to Saul over there, who was really keen to make sure that their businesses didn't miss out on this process. So they've suggested to fast track pre-approval applications by providing letters of support to businesses that they can then provide to us that shows that they can operate in an alfresco area while those permits are being processed. So of course, these are only a few ideas. I'm sure there's many, many more out there. So I'm really looking forward to hearing them and to working with each of you on the program. Again, as Tim mentioned, there is detailed information on the program, the application process, proof of evidence, and a list of eligible expenses on the department's website. So that is it for me, Tim. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Danielle. That's great. I appreciate it. So as we mentioned, I think for a lot of you, obviously, you're going to be the first point of contact for the local business that wants to participate in this program. So we really appreciate your expertise and your guidance around obviously reducing red tape and ensuring that this program and the other programs that are being rolled out as part of the COVID response, that they're really meeting the needs of the local communities and will be seen as beneficial. Just to reinforce, if you've got any queries or any suggestions, and picking up what Danielle said, please reach out to Danielle and the team and provide that feedback. Obviously, as well with Alfresco, the liquor licensing component is really, really important. What I'd now like to do is introduce Val Birch from Racing and Gaming and Liquor, who will actually go through some of the permits and licensing that they need around the Alfresco expansion. So Val, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Tim. Right, okay. Licensees of permanent liquor licenses in Western Australia who have successfully negotiated an approval with the local council or private owner to use a new or additional area adjacent to their licensed premises are invited to apply without charge of one of the following initiatives. So the first one is either a brand new ETP Alfresco area. Licensees are invited to complete the extended trading permit area COVID-19 application and email it together with a plan of the requested area and relevant approvals to liquor c19@dlgsc.wa.gov.au, or to an extent an existing Alfresco area. If you could submit a completed Form 11, which is a notice of application to add, vary or cancel condition of license or permit, and email that together with a plan of the revised area and relevant approvals to liquor c19@dlgsc.wa.gov.au. We would encourage applicants to provide approval from the council or owner when lodging the application. If the application is to vary an existing Alfresco, the amendment to the existing council approval will be required for those on council footpaths. For an Alfresco permit on private property, just an email or a letter from the freehold owner will consenting to the increase of the Alfresco will suffice. When applying to vary an existing Alfresco permit, applicants will need to show the existing area and the new area on the plan and specify how the area will be defined. The department has a dedicated team working towards prioritizing these applications to support your business. The time frames are pretty much 2 to 3 days, depending if the applications and the plans are complete. The duration will be 18 months from the date of approval for the ETPs and ad-vary cancels. However, if the approval from the relevant council or owner is for a lesser time frame, then the permits will be issued accordingly. Right, I think that's it for me. I'll hand over back to you, Tim.
Thanks, Val. And look, just to reinforce, we'll make this information available in the guide there. So if anyone wants to access it, obviously the webinar is being recorded, but the other information will be available on the DLGSC website if you need to sort of work through some of the points that Val has spoken about. Okay, what I'd now like to do is actually turn over to Jimmy from Town Teams, who's actually going to talk to us a bit more generally about activating the public realm. So, Jimmy, over to you.
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yep, got you there.
All right, great. Yeah, look, thanks for having me. This is such a great initiative. We're really excited to see the state government entering in this space and supporting local businesses in activating the public realm. The local businesses are the lifeblood of town centres and main streets, and it's great to see them getting this financial support to help them in their journey. So for anyone who doesn't know, Town Team Movement, we're a not-for-profit social enterprise. We exist to support local residents and businesses and local governments to do placemaking from the bottom up around town centres and main streets. We now have 94 town teams across Australia and 86 in WA. We originated in Western Australia. But the last couple of COVID years, we've actually seen a doubling of the amount of town teams in WA. And I think that's as more and more people become aware of the importance of sticking together, helping each other, and also supporting our local businesses. And they're seeing placemaking as a way of doing that. Public alfresco space is placemaking 101. So seeing the support for the local businesses is great. I'm not sure. Yes, this slide here, I just thought I'd put that in just to help with anyone wanting conversations in their organisations or with their local businesses, as to just show that even pre-COVID businesses were struggling against online and shopping centre competition. Obviously, COVID's made that even more harder. So again, a great reason for this initiative. If you wouldn't mind putting it to the next slide, Catherine, I've just got a couple of examples here of some photos. So over the last couple of years in Leederville in particular, we've seen alfresco basically being a lifeline for that town centre. A lot of the businesses have not survived the last couple of years, but we've seen all, if not most, of the businesses with extended alfresco managed to survive, and that's been a huge boon for Leederville. So the next slide there of Leederville there shows a licensed parklet. So it is actually possible to license parklets. The City of Vincent have led the way there. So encourage you to get in touch with them if you need any support in allowing the license of public realm, if that's something that you want to look into. Just the next slide there in regards to community-driven parklets. That's a great example done by the Vic Park Collective in Vic Park there, of actually the community engaging and helping build and develop a space in conjunction with some businesses on their strip. And the final slide there, Catherine, if you would be so kind, is just our contact details. So I just want to let everyone know that we're here to support in any way we can. We'll certainly be getting the word out to all the town teams. It's great to see some town team people here on this webinar. And just if you need any support at all in having conversations with your local businesses to encourage them to put in an application, definitely feel free to reach out, and yeah, we'll be happily of service. Back over to you, Tim. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, look, thanks, Jimmy. That's great. And yeah, we'll make sure those details are there and available for people to be able to access. What we'd like to do now, I'd like to actually ask David Doy, who's the Manager of Place Planning at the Town of Victoria Park. They've kindly agreed to come and, I guess, give us their perspective on alfresco and street life, picking up some of the points that Jimmy has just raised. So, David, I'll hand over to you and run through your presentation.
Nice one, Tim, and hopefully you can hear me okay. And thanks for the invite. The first thing I have to say is, everybody, make sure that you assist your businesses to take this incredible opportunity. This is great leadership from the state government. Wonderful opportunity. I'm probably going to repeat a few things of Jimmy, but I don't care because this is really important stuff, and hopefully I can sort of pump up your tyres a little bit about the importance of street life. So if you don't mind going to the next slide. So Jane Jacobs is one of my heroes, and I've horrifically paraphrased her here, but if she's not one of your heroes, she should be. And so great streets are the sum of the thousands of small interactions every day. On their own, each interaction is trivial, but taken as a sum, they are not trivial at all. To not have these interactions in a public setting every day confines us to private spaces, and we become insular, wary of others, and isolated. So public life is not only good for us, but it's actually fundamental to our well-being. And healthy streets are the theatres where public life plays out every single day. So if you can go to the next slide. So the reason why it's so critical to a range of different things in society is that street life and alfresco, which is a critical part of street life, is a key stage for knowledge exchange. Tell me how many times you've met with somebody down the local cafe or restaurant and sat in an alfresco area and swapped ideas or talked business or had a meeting, a professional meeting. This is absolutely critical part of our society, as well as monetary exchange, going in and spending money, and alfresco often occurs in town centres and main streets, which are really the workhorses of our local economy. Jimmy mentioned there about social connection, and these places are critical areas where we connect with other people. You might have heard about the notion of the third place. We live our lives at home or at work, but we have these really important third places, which can be parks or gyms or sporting clubs. But main streets and town centres out in the public realm are really fundamental third place for that. Human beings need to be able to dwell really important places. As I said before, alfresco is a critical driver of our local economy, and when people see other people in a place and see buzzing places, it attracts more people, and more people come, more people want to spend their money there, they want to spend time there, and we have a snowball effect. And when that happens, when we get these cafe strips and creative cultures that emerge, then we see investment follow. And these are the things that can actually help enable our local planning strategies and schemes, other plans that we have. It's actually these small investments, this small effort to try and make alfresco work, that can ultimately be the driver to the major investment that we want to see. Next slide, if you don't mind. So what can local government do? So Minister Carey mentioned before around local government playing a key role here in terms of in the regulatory space, and with alfresco dining at the Town of Vic Park, it's free and it's only a click away on our website, and I encourage you to make that change. It's not a hard change, and like I said to you before, there's so many reasons why it's important, but there's all these other areas that local government have a role in encouraging street life, and there's nothing that you need. There's no recreation of the wheel that you need to do as a local government. Honestly, go and pinch the work of others. Go and pinch the work of the City of Vincent or the Town of Vic Park or the City of Freo or any other number of places. It's all been done before. You can get on and see the procedural changes that have been made, changes to digitisation or policy amendments, just to make it super easy. So I really encourage you to make the change, to support the rebate and get it out to your businesses. And that's probably all I have to say. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you very much, David. That's great. What we'd now like to do is I'd like to invite Paul Needham, who's Director of Planning and Development Services at the City of Busselton, to give a few of Busselton's case studies. So over to you, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, probably just like to open by, like others, sort of welcoming the funding from the state, and we've certainly been putting it out as much as we can through our networks, and really in terms of the virtues of street life and alfresco and so on, really echo all of those messages. In terms of our approach, particularly with this period while the funding is available, we've decided to make someone in our ED team to be the primary contact to try and sort of smooth the path and make the approvals as seamless and easy as possible, and the letters of support, etc. So with that intro, I might just then run through just a few examples. So the next slide, I should just have a couple of images on. That's wonderful. Okay, so just on these, just quickly run through. These are probably some of the simpler ones to deal with. We don't charge any fees for street alfresco, haven't done for a few years. And for both of these examples here, they're supported by just a permit under our trading local law. And probably the one on the bottom left there, which is the baked one, is one, I think, if the state's looking to exempt things completely, very, very straightforward, very, very simple. And I know that they are actually looking to upgrade their infrastructure there. And then the one on the right, again, one just requires a trading local law permit, no fees attached to that, and really very, very straightforward as well. And both of those are effective for those two businesses. Move on to the next slide, if we could, please. Yeah, so these two are ones that really illustrate one of the key things that we've done to really support alfresco. So in terms of ongoing permits, both of these examples here, just a permit under the trading local law, no fees attached to that. But in both cases, they're using land that was car parking spaces before they were being used for these alfresco operators. Now, and the works to make that change were actually done by the city, essentially on the request of the operators. They are theoretically reversible works that have been done. I certainly hope that they never are reversed. But we felt that in terms of getting the sort of the parklet and the repurposing of parking areas, that us going in and doing these theoretically reversible streetscape works where we basically just fill in and pave over the car bays was a really good way to facilitate that. Often the operators struggle to find a way to fund parklets or more significant investment, and obviously the state funding may well help with that. But had we not gone and done the works ourselves, I think we'd still have cars parked in those two locations there. And even in the absence of state funding, that work and now that managed to prove up to themselves the value to their business of that alfresco area, that higher amenity, in particular alfresco area, than what you get from just a couple of chairs on a narrow footpath. That in the case of another area, not an example here, has given the operators the confidence to go and spend more significant amounts of money on I guess, an even higher amenity solution for them. One of the other things that we have done in recent times, just to make sure that there's no doubt about it, either in terms of the city doing that work to convert a car bay to an alfresco area, or in terms of that more parklet thing that perhaps is more driven by the operators, we've introduced a permitted development local planning policy that ensures that there's no question that planning approvals are not required for those sorts of developments. And then last slide, if you could go to that, please. Just a few examples here that are perhaps a little bit different and can be a little bit more challenging, and just perhaps talk about our approach to those. So I just might start with the one on the right, which is the Vass Hotel. Now that's quite well established. That one, again, we don't charge any ongoing fees. That one is licensed by RGL, and obviously there is a structure there which is over the road reserve, which is attached to the building, and most people local government people would be aware, but some may not, that there are provisions in the Building Act that allow those sort of works to occur, and it's just a matter of issuing a building permit and making sure that once you're happy with the structure in a general sense, that it's constructed safely and soundly. The top left example, which is Shelter, which I'm sure a lot of people have been to and enjoyed, is an example of one where that site is leased from the city with a sublease from the Crown. And that's actually within the lease area, so relatively straightforward. But one of the ones that we do find challenging is with where a premise is private or public Leone land adjoins a reserve, and it is the trading local laws currently typically don't provide powers for eating permits on those outdoor eating permits. So that's one that can be a bit more tricky to work through, and it'd be great to see at some point some change at a state level to extend sort of trading local law type powers over local government property. And then the final one is in the bottom left, and again a bit of a different example. And apologies for the photo because it's when it's not busy, but this is at a location we call King Street. It's a secret beach spot for locals, so I won't tell you exactly where it is. But that little kiosk there is one that the city placed there, and then we essentially hire that space incidentally to Baked, which was on the first slide. Really helps to activate that space. Very low risk for the operator, and you can see that not particularly well in that photo, but there's sort of some beach infrastructure and seating, and that really works really well. But again, that'd be a great one if they were looking at making some more investment. At the moment, we can't give them the kind of security of tenure that would encourage them to invest their own money in substantial alfresco furniture, but having support from the state to take some of that risk out, I think would help enormously. So they're just I think what's that, 7 examples in all, and you know, there's ways that you can make it as simple and cheap as possible for people, in particular not requiring DAs and making that clear, not charging fees, but then also looking at ways you can make sure you've got some money in your streetscape or other budget somewhere, that if some works are required to repurpose a car bay, and often you might find the operators aren't prepared to make that investment, certainly up front, being prepared to do that work yourself to try and get the benefits that everyone's been talking about. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate the presentation. And can I thank all of our presenters today for being involved and presenting on the different case studies and some of the options there. So that's really, really appreciated. So look, that really concludes, I guess, our webinar for today. I'd just like to leave you, you would see the contact details for those that have any queries, questions regarding the Alfresco Rebate Program. We would encourage you to talk to the local government team or the racing, gaming and liquor team at the department if you've got any queries or anything that we can help you with. And obviously this presentation and the webinar will be up on our website as well that you can refer back to. But I'd really like to thank you all for coming along today. I hope that's been of some use as a high-level introduction to the program. And again, we're here to help if you've got any specific queries. But thank you again for your attendance, and I'll conclude the webinar today. Thank you.